Thank you. We all could rise for the pledge. Walter, can you lead us in the pledge, sir?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a moment of silence for the men and women in the armed forces, our first responders, our veterans, those fighting a good fight in Ukraine, and those men and women that have fallen due to the earthquake episodes in Syria and in Turkey. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Next on our agenda is public comment. Do we have anyone that would like to address the public? Mr. Sinella.
All right, good evening. Mike Sinello, 111 Willow Springs. I understand we're probably going to have a short night tonight, so I'll try to be as short as I can too. As you guys can gather, we have a bit of a different AV setup than we normally do for the town council meetings. And there are some people here that probably aren't used to dealing with all of this. So I'm just going to run through some stuff real quickly that has to do with that. First, for the folks watching at home, we are streaming live on both YouTube and Facebook. Facebook is at 720p, YouTube is at 1080, so the better quality video is going to be on YouTube, but Facebook is where you're going to have live captions. YouTube will generate them in the morning. All of these videos on YouTube and Facebook will be there for in perpetuity. You don't need an account to view any of them. With YouTube, we already have a playlist built for this series. Facebook doesn't allow me to build a playlist until after we've gone live, so to find the entire joint budget hearings and right now we have the deliberation scheduled, but for this entire series for the 2023 to 2024 budget cycle, that will be on a playlist on the town's YouTube channel. So all you have to do is click on the playlist tab. All of these live streams have already been built, so if you want to see it on Facebook, all you have to do is go to the Town of New Milford's Facebook page, click on the events tab, and it has all of the events already listed. I will update all of that as these events get scheduled. For example, when the Board of Finance has their public hearing or their deliberations, we'll get that up to date when that information gets out. Additionally, in each video's description is a link to the official agenda. So for those at home, if you want to be able to follow along, or if you're presenting and you don't know exactly where you are in terms of the order and what night you're on, link is in this video's description to that agenda so you can follow along there. I've also built a Google Sheet, it's a spreadsheet, that is a calendar of all of the budget sessions events. It has that order of presentation. It also has a link to the official agenda. And it also has links to the YouTube and Facebook videos and live streams for this entire series. So you guys can watch all of this at home live or in posterity. And speaking to that, now we're moving on to the folks in the room. So the first thing I want to point out is that you see that there's 22 microphones in here. So if we could please use the microphones, I would greatly appreciate that for the people watching at home live and for posterity. If you're not going to be speaking into a microphone, it's going to be really hard to capture it. That means that if you guys need to move around your microphones, that's fine. There's plenty of cord length for that. But if you do move them around, just make sure that they're facing you for the evening. So that people can actually hear that. Speaking of that, there are 2 microphones at the podium now, and that is so that if there are 2 presenters that need to present, we can extend this, and I'll have to do some adjustments with the camera, which I can do, and 2 people can present at the same time and we can capture them. So again, if you're going to stand 5-6 feet over there, no one's going to hear you. If you're going to stand 10 feet over there, no one's going to hear you. So I appreciate just the usage of those microphones. And the final thing, when it comes to in the room, the Thanksgiving kids table is going to be the hardest one to capture by far. So if we could please avoid using the Thanksgiving kids table over there, I would greatly appreciate that. There are 17 people plus the mayor and our recording secretary that need seats. So I've set it out like that. You'll also notice too that there are the 2 worst seats in the house for seeing anything up there. So if we could avoid using that, I would greatly appreciate that. And that should do it.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks,
Thank you.
And for the town council, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Walter?
The Board of
The Board of Finance, I want to call this meeting to order.
And first is kind of housekeeping rules. I know Greg, our finance director, had talked to the town council at the last town council meeting concerning kind of the different way the budget was approached due to munis constraints. And before you get into your presentation, Greg, could you kind of give an update to the council and to the Board of Finance and how this budget book, how it is presented to us, how that can work?
Yes, the major difference is the summary pages for the detail. Those had to be removed due to the fact that, as I explained earlier to both the council and the Board of Finance, that when the budget was uploaded this fiscal year, the incorrect budget was uploaded, FY22 uploaded instead of FY23. Consequently, it had long-reaching effects that were unintended. One being that in producing this budget, I realized when looking at the production document that the column for FY23 was actually FY22, resulting in an error in the variance between the mayor's recommended budget and the 2023, what should have been the 2023 adopted budget. So as a result of that, I had told you I would reach out to Tyler Technologies for a workaround, and we were going back and forth for some time, and the bottom line is they could not guarantee that the workaround would be ready in time for production purposes. So I had to make a decision, which I did, to pull all of the detailed summary pages from the budget presentation and supplant them with title pages, if you will. Now, you do have, what you lose there is 2 years worth of actuals from for the detailed lines. We do have the actuals for 2 years, but it's on the department in aggregate, not by line item detail. If I can draw your attention to page 1, just to illustrate.
That would be revenues, Greg?
This is revenues. So if you go to the mayor's line, this page here, page 1, we did a workaround. We put in, this is an Excel document. This was not generated by the Munis program. We had to change all the adopted budget lines in the FY23 adopted budget line and put in formulas to get the correct variances. So if you go to, say, the mayor's office, you see the variance is 1,000 between fiscal year 23 adopted and mayor's recommended 2024 budget. If you flip to the next page, you'll see on the detail where that variance occurs. It occurs in the passport revenue. Last year there was 9,000. This year the mayor is requesting 10,000. So that's how the variances work. They all tie out and they corroborate one another. Unfortunately, there was no time to do this for every single departmental level with the time constraints. So instead of, again, instead of seeing the summary detailed pages for each department, you have a title page.
Does anybody have?
I apologize. That's the best workaround I can do once Tyler said that they weren't able to have the fix ready for production. And matter of fact, it would have cost $4,000 to do, so I was not willing to put up $4,000 without a guarantee of having a finished product that I could rely on.
Does anybody have any questions for Greg concerning the budget itself, the workings of it? Hillary?
So there was a fix, it was just a $4,000 cost to the town, and it might not have been here by today. Is that the basic?
Right, and
Okay.
there's no guarantee that it would have worked, there's no guarantee that it would have been ready by the time we had to go into production to meet the February 14th deadline.
And did we know this last Tuesday? Because I asked this question, that's why, I mean, the frustration is, it takes a lot more time when you're going through it, and you want the details, so now you can, you can go back to prior budgets, but it's just, it's much
It's
more of a
cumbersome.
clunky, cumbersome process, and I think this question, that I asked this question at the budget presentation, so it's frustrating to have a different turn of events. So I just wondered if were you aware of this when you presented?
So
the budget?
Greg, explain that to the town council and the Board of Finance at the meeting.
I said, did all of these issues get resolved with the variance? And you said
So
yes.
Greg, did the issues get resolved?
No, it did not.
At your
Did-
budget presentation.
No, the
So-
the
Hang on
workaround
a
was
second,
to
Greg. She's
substitute.
addressing me, so I'll address her, okay? So, yes, so you can actually go to the budget book, you can see the years, 21 through 24 with the mayor's
I get it.
supported
I
budget.
get it.
Then you can turn the page,
Yeah.
and you can see it. So, is it a fix? Absolutely. Is it what everybody wants? No. But it's the best that he could do.
Okay, that was not the question that was asked, but I understand that that's what we have. That was not the question that was asked.
Okay,
the
so
budget presentation.
the question that you asked was what again?
Were all of those variance issues that Mr. Ospow had brought up in prior meetings, were all of those remedied, fixed, so that the budget was going to be exactly as it was last year? And
But
the
you
answer
didn't-
was yes.
Wait, you didn't say exactly was his last year, so don't add on to that. What you did say was
Were
the
all
variances
variance issues
fixed?
fixed?
And they are fixed right here.
The variance issues are not fixed on the details, as we've just been told. So, I mean, we don't need to split hairs. I'm just saying it was a
I'm-
frustrating thing to.
Hillary, and I'm as frustrated as you are.
Mm-hmm.
I'm as frustrated as Greg is.
Okay.
We're all frustrated.
I can say personally, no one's more disappointed than I am that this event occurred.
Right. I'm just wondering why we didn't go for the fix, the $4,000
Because
fix.
it wasn't a
because
guaranteed fix.
That's, this could be, a problem for people looking at our budget, lenders, et cetera. I don't know, but
Well-
anyway.
Could I ask you just to repeat what you said? You could have paid the $4,000, but there was no guarantee
That's
that
correct.
when it came out, after all the reconnoitering and going through the numbers, it was gonna end up any better than, it might have been worse.
There
That's
was
the-
no guarantee that
Right.
it would be correct. There was no guarantee that it would be delivered on time to go into production.
So, and now I do have another question. What's the opportunity for this to happen again next year?
Hopefully zero. Now, what happened, right, I mean, I've been doing this for a long time. I designed this program. I don't know, perhaps you or Tom Esposito could remember when
I do.
Munis the first production document
I do.
we had off of Munis was the most god-awful thing you can imagine. So this is a boutique type program that was written specifically for the town of New Milford. So it's worked wonderfully
Right.
all these years.
Just that one glitch.
It was just that one glitch that had far-reaching repercussions that
Well,
I
having.
didn't foresee, no one would have foreseen.
Of course not. So the 22 and the 23, that didn't work. So now we're gonna move forward. We're in 23, we're gonna go into 24. So
Right.
can we safely think we have a better shot at it not having that problem?
Well, sure. I mean, this occurred when I was doing the year-end close and opening up the
Right.
new year,
Remember.
where everybody had to be out of the system. Everyone
apparently was not out of the system, and both budgets for the town and the
Right.
Board of Ed did not get uploaded properly.
Right.
So I had to do a workaround for that in order for the town to get the actual 23 budget loaded. It's more or less reflected in the revised budget.
Right,
So it was,
it's a pain,
it's been an effort,
I know,
and I pray to God it doesn't happen again.
right.
Yes.
Thank you. So when the 2024 budget is being uploaded,
Mm-hmm.
along with the 2023 budget, will that turn out like the 2022
No,
budgets? No.
No,
No,
that's what I said,
no.
you
I
won't
mean,
have
the
22.
actual numbers are fine. The only column that was wrong was a 2023 budget. So here's the scenario. I opened up next year with the 2024 adopted budget, making sure that no one's on the system. I'm gonna do it on a weekend where nobody would have any reason to be in the system. I'm gonna upload the 2024 budget and all should go according to Hoyle. I mean, it's been fine for years.
Right.
This past year was an anomaly, and we're dealing with the repercussions of that one snafu.
Were you able to identify who was in the system?
There were several people in. There were several.
Is it,
I'm
it's
not
just the
throwing
town,
anybody
though?
under
No, I
the
know, I don't wanna
bus.
know, cause then I'd be really upset. But is it just the town munis? Does it include the Board of Ed munis too?
Right,
Oh,
yeah.
all the way across town,
Yeah, they were
okay.
on both sides. Yeah.
Greg, is there a timetable where you could issue an email, general, to tell people?
He does.
I did that
did.
ad
Oh, all right, I'm
nauseum,
not-
Doug, ad nauseum. You don't know how many times I sent out reminders.
Okay.
I'm
And our
just
IT
not gonna, it's worked before, I'm
Right.
just not gonna do it that way again. I'm going to do it at home on a weekend where no one, absolutely no one has a reason to be in there. Or, you know, that they have to sign off properly as well.
Right,
Right.
that's
They
right.
can't leave it
So
open.
it's not, I mean, when I do this, it's like a two-step process. You post to master for reports. That was done, that was fine. And we were recording, you know, our revenues and expenditures and running our business. It's when I did the year-end close.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
originally, the correct budget was uploaded when I did post to masters for report. This time, it just grabbed the 2022 adopted budget and loaded it into that column. So, and apparently this report pulls data from different tables. I thought I can work around this, and there's no way. It was impossible.
So next year, give us a list of the people that were in,
You know,
not in
hopefully it'll be
compliance, and
zero.
we'll go see them, how's that?
We're not gonna have to execute ourselves,
I mean, again, this budget, this document has enough information for you to make educated, informed decisions.
Right, I believe so, yes.
It does have the two actuals, but in an aggregate. It does not break them out line by
Right,
line by
but they're
line.
there,
Good,
info is there.
that'll work then.
It's just the actuals. Yeah, the column for the actuals. That's gonna be fine, you're saying, for next year. The
All of it.
actuals for 2023, yeah.
They'll all be fine.
Yeah.
Yes.
So going through it, there's no way to know right now, as you're looking at the details, you see the budget, but the actuals
Right.
are nowhere to be found.
Not in this document, no.
So it's hard to, so I just want to.
I understand your
I just want to
frustration.
explain why I feel like it's a really big deal. I mean, our job is, and, you know, looking at the budget is kind of why we're all here, and, you know, transparency and accountability and really kind of asking good questions is our role. So if I don't have the, you know, the actuals, it's pretty tricky to
Again,
see.
you do, but on an aggregate departmental
Right,
level.
right,
Believe
right.
me,
Which
you're
do-
preaching to the choir.
which-
I know more than anybody how frustrating this is.
Okay, so we'll just have to ask a lot more questions throughout the process about
will.
actual
Right.
numbers.
Right.
Okay.
So all
Any
those
other-
departments out there watching, We're gonna
Any
ask you
other-
more
It's
questions,
gonna be
Any
a
right?
other questions for Greg concerning how the budget was built? Okay. I'd like to move on to Greg now, your department.
Okay,
So that's the revenue page, starting on page 5.
well, here's my presentation.
Yep.
All right, departmental overview. The finance officer is responsible for the annual audit, financial reporting, budget management, compilation and management of financial statements, preparation of the annual and 5-year capital budgets, debt issuance and ratings review, maintaining the general ledger and financial system, munis, accounts payable, purchasing, payroll, adherence to state, federal, and GASB financial requirements, investments and treasury functions, pension management, budget transfers and adjustments, risk management, banking relations, recording and verifying all town revenues. The finance office maintains and records bank reconciliations for over 30 funds, including the general fund, town pension, waste management, capital, internal service funds, and grants. We maintain records and reconciliations for numerous investment accounts. We oversee over $200 million in assets. Again, we prepare the annual general fund budget and 5-year capital plan. We conduct the annual audit and provide support for union negotiations. This is our table of organization. This is all accomplished with 5 people: myself, finance director, comptroller, purchasing specialist, accounts payable specialist, and a payroll specialist. The revenues. Finance revenues are essentially all revenues not raised by fees, fines, or taxes. They consist mainly of state revenues, unanticipated revenues, operating transfers in, and the use of fund balance. These categories increased overall by $1,800,290, primarily due to an increase in the use of assigned fund balance, tax relief, higher interest income, and lower WPCA debt contribution. The department request totals $439,891. Consists of personnel, $404,966. Overtime, $1,000. Materials and supplies, $13,800. CCM membership, $18,500, and GFOA membership, $1,625. The change in the budget is primarily due to wage increases and increases in GFOA dues.
Any questions for Greg?
I just have one question, or a couple questions regarding the fund balance, the revenue side. I'm just, I'm trying to really understand the 1 million, the use of the waste management funds.
Waste management fund, $500,000.
Oh, I see. So we took 500 mayor's recommendation. So the actual of it is 500 that came out.
For waste management
Yeah.
use, $500,000.
So where in the budget do we see that 500?
That would be in operating transfers in, page 7.
Okay. Got it.
It's accompanied by the WPCA debt reimbursement.
And it goes into,
Only to be used if needed.
okay. So, and the WPCA was actually 450 for 2020.
It was 450 last year. This year, it's 350.
Okay. So, let's see, okay, the WPCA, and just one question on that, because I'm just trying to understand it myself, which is I'm just trying to see if this is the same thing. I had a question about in the audit, the non-current, why is the 1.5 receivable in the non-current assets? Like, are those ever coming in, or are those just on the books, the 1 million in,
I'm at a disadvantage, I don't have the.
So you don't have that,
I
okay.
don't- I
So
don't
I'm-
have the audit with me, what?
Okay, never mind. What I guess I'm trying to understand is,
Yep.
we used to take 1 million every year. If we look back the prior years, it was 1 million every year from waste management. Last year, we took 500, right? Is that?
Which we didn't use.
And the year before, we didn't take any.
So this
because
says
had
we did take
surpluses.
500.
No,
right?
that's
So-
budgeted.
We
Budgeted, right. So where do we see what actually came in or didn't come in?
It did not come in. And at my year-end report, to the council and the Board of Finance, I report on that. We
Okay.
did not bring any of waste management funds in for the
Okay.
past 2 years.
Okay.
Whereby it was budgeted, yes.
It was
But we
budgeted
did,
in.
budgeted, yes, actual, no. We did not bring any of that money in. You would see in the actual column of the year-to-date budget report, if I had to use that, there would have been an actual transfer in of $500,000.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
And then Greg, kind of staying on this too, for when you're looking at the actual page 1, you'll also see what comes out. If you could explain to the council and the Board of Finance a reduction in revenue from the Board of Education of $208,142.
What's the question?
If you could explain to the town council and the Board of Education the reduction in revenue from the Board of Education. Last,
Okay,
on page
that,
1, $208,000.
I'm sorry, Mayor.
One thing that just shows up.
Oh, that line.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that would be a reduction of the Sherman tuition.
So we have less students.
Less students. I asked the question, why is it less? And I said, is it, they said it was a lower enrollment rate for Sherman tuition, Sherman students.
And when we have seen these numbers, Greg, because we're looking at ancillary numbers, right? Previous to this number, right? We've been short how many years in a row?
I don't know. I can't say for sure, but it's been several years in a row.
Of about how much?
It ranges, it varies. On average, if I had to say off the top of my head, $150,000 to $200,000 perhaps. Don't quote me.
No, okay. Thank you, Greg. Any questions? Okay. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, Greg.
Thanks, Greg.
Next, the legal budget, which is page 91 in our books. And Randy wanted to apologize to the council and the Board of Finance. He had a family emergency, so we hope all is okay. But as you can see, when you go to page 92 in the budget book, the year 2023 total amount is $371,000. This year, it is $356,000. And as you can see, part of that reduction is in legal retainer, where he's gone down from $90,000 to $75,000. Does anybody have any questions on the legal budget?
I am curious to know, we're down to legal personnel, and the year we're in now, we had some negotiations, right? And for the coming year, it's personnel legal budget, but do we have any negotiations coming up for the following year?
We do, and Greg's gonna, when he presents, he's gonna talk about that
Okay.
during presentation.
Got it, thanks.
You're welcome. Any other questions for Lee? Thank you. Next is the mayor's budget. First, we'll go to the revenues, page 2, the mayor's office. As you can see, we've taken on the efforts of doing passports. So thank you to Olga and to Pat, who've done a phenomenal job. And the revenue, we've gone from $9,000 to $10,000. Mayor's initiative stays the same. That's for revenues. Any questions on the revenues so far? Okay. Then moving to the mayor office budget, which would be page 53. And the breakout is on page 54. First line personnel, you can see the increase in the mayor's salary for the compensation committee and the approval of the town council. Then you have the salary increases for the community resource specialist, executive secretary, the grant specialist back in 2022 were moved underneath the mayor's office. And then the office coordinator. Then you have longevity pay, car allowance approved by the town council. Then the tourism budget is the same. Materials and supplies went up $500 due to material costs are up. And actually, that's the recommendation of our purchasing agent, Valerie Douglas. And the expense account is the same. Any questions on the mayor's office budget?
Me? Just for people to understand what tourism means, if you could talk a little bit about what that pays for?
Absolutely. So the tourism line, it pays for our tourism website. So when you go to the website, it's newmilfordnow.org. Also, it helps with some of the signage that we have when we do the tourism to bring extra dollars into town. So it pays for those things.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Hillary?
Are we gonna talk about the capital
Yes.
expense? Okay.
Any other questions so far on revenue and on expenditures? Okay, next is page 241. And then this is underneath the mayor's capital, which is $50,000 that we pay as well. That's the town contribution. The Board of Ed does their $50,000 contribution as well. So when the turf fields were first erected, the council, remember that, Walter, and the Board of Finance and the Board of Ed at the time all agreed to bring in funding annually so that the cost, when these would be needed to be replaced, wouldn't be so detrimental as a one-time cost. So $50,000.
And we,
Doug?
do we have a total, of what we have in that? Greg? I know, I put you on the spot, but I know we've been doing it for the last 3 or 4 years. Okay.
And a question, Greg, so, and everybody that's supposed to put their $50,000 in has been doing so every year.
Town has,
Yep.
sure.
Hillary?
I was just wondering why this wasn't part of, that we got the surplus and a lot of the capital requests were paid for by the surplus. I just wondered why this wasn't included in that, or your evaluation of priorities and stuff.
So this is kind of on its own trajectory. The town and the board continue to put the funding in for that. So right now, the Board of Ed has done a phenomenal job. The facilities, I know Doug can agree with keeping these fields up to date. They look great. We may be able to get a few more years out of them than we thought we would.
Well, the maintenance and having 2 of them, and then COVID itself and the weather, projected is between 10 to 12 years. But seeing how they've been taking care of the fields and because of COVID and the less of use, we feel like it could be longer. So it's all about keeping them up.
I don't think I was saying don't pay for it. I was just
Right.
saying that of the 2 million, instead of the carpeting the town, some of the other things that were paid for, this is a need that would have kept our, our budget down.
Would it meet the criteria?
For surplus?
For surplus,
Capital.
absolutely. Absolutely.
For the ARPA funding?
But, you look at it, do you have a turf field that's in great condition, that's being used? Absolutely. Comparative to 2 plow trucks that we would need that cost over $250,000 for each one, you kind of like see which one would be more of immediate need. So, to me, more immediate need would be the plow trucks, the 3 police cars, those things of immediate need. But definitely, Hillary, we could look at it for next year, absolutely.
So, this is usually transferred in June, right? It's usually around then?
Usually.
Okay. Does the Board of Ed do it at the same time, or do you know?
I don't know. You'd have
Just
to
curious,
ask
I'd like to know what the balance is myself, but I don't know when you're moving the money.
them. Yeah, you
So,
have to ask
okay.
them.
We can
And so
we can
we
ask
should-
them for their balance too.
Right.
Absolutely.
Let's-
Yeah, we
Well,
want to
I'll
know,
ask
we
them.
just don't know where we are. Are we,
Yeah.
is this year's 100,000 in or not? Right?
It should be.
That, what, no,
No, it's,
is it June?
No, I understand what you're saying. I thought you meant like last year.
No, I'm just
So can we
saying that
get
whenever
that
we get the
from
number, we need to
Yeah,
know
I'll ask.
Sure.
Thanks.
I asked
when the
them
money
every
was
year.
put in. Right. I asked for that myself. And the other thing is, I'm just gonna make a statement about the fields, because they are gorgeous, but there's new data. So when the time comes to do something, will we be looking at the most recent data with regard to safety on those fields?
Well, I can
Because-
tell you that there was an extensive data taken on safety. They did it.
At the
Oh,
time.
my goodness.
Yes.
Right,
and
but
stuff
there's
like
new
that.
data, that's what I'm saying, there's new data. So I'm planting a seed, that we need to check it out before we make a decision.
And I think what you're referring to is important, not necessarily the field might have changed, but what happens on the field.
There's-
The regulations of what happens, right? And what equipment,
How
et
it's
cetera.
used.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
It's ongoing safety with equipment and everything else, sure.
Yeah,
agree.
because things change.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Any other questions on the capital? Okay. Next, we're going to move on to the town council budget, which would be page 51. And then 52 will be the breakout.
Is anyone on the phone? Mayor, is anybody
Is anybody on the phone?
Can anybody, oh, I just wondered.
Okay. So here we have the consultants, and those are the secretaries that take the minutes from our departments. So thank you very much for that. And as their fee increased, so the increase in the consultant fee. Legal notices are the same. Materials and supplies are the same. Any questions on the town council budget? Okay.
Oh, consultants.
Just want to thank you all for your very low salaries.
Next is the Board of Finance budget. And Walter, I'll turn that over to you.
Page 64. Is it detail?
Essentially, there's no change from previous year budget. Personnel is for the recording secretary, budgeted at 12 meetings a year, and then there's materials and supplies at $150 a year, if needed, if used. It hasn't changed year over year.
Any questions for Walter for the Board of Finance budget? Absolutely. All right. I'd like to entertain, does anybody have any other questions concerning tonight's departments or to Greg? Seeing if there is none for the town council, I'd like to entertain a motion to recess to tomorrow at 7 p.m., February 22nd. Any discussion for the council? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Walter?
For the Board of Finance, a motion to adjourn till tomorrow evening at
Recess.
7 p.m. Not adjourn, recess, excuse me.
Moved.
Second? Second. All in favor? Aye. We are recessed.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Habits are hard to break.
Oh, absolutely.